Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. Let's start the week off with a giveaway. You can see right on the screen there's an All Avengers bundle in Marvel Snap. I'm going to be giving away two of these by this Wednesday. If you want to enter, what you have to do is you have to subscribe to this YouTube channel right here. And in addition to subscribing, you have to comment on this video with your favorite Thanos deck from this video. This video is going to be looking at three different Thanos decks. You just choose one of the three. Tell me which is your favorite. And as long as you're subscribed, you're entered to win one of two free All Avengers packs. Later this week, we'll be giving away another season pass. So if you haven't gotten Hitmonkey yet and you want him, well, your chance will be later on this week. Now, there's big news that came out at the end of last week. That news is nerfs and buffs will be happening every Thursday going forward. What that means is your Friday Snap Take is going to be a review of those changes from now on. But for now, the changes are Sunspot lost 1 power, a good change. Shadow King lost 1 cost. Sentry goes to 10 and -10. And the big one, Red Skull, went down to 12 from 15, then 13, and now finally nerfed again down to 12. The last nerf clearly didn't do enough. In addition to that nerf, Shuri will be nerfed on 3/18. That's the planned date for the next patch. They have a nerf for Shuri that they can't do over the air, but they plan to change Shuri. So if you're sick of seeing Red Skull Shuri decks, this is your chance. The deck is leaving the meta. If you want more thoughts on these, including a full meta tier list that will do its best to take into account the Shuri change coming, please make sure you're checking out Snap Judgments that'll be releasing tomorrow. In it, we're going to create Snap.fan's very first ever full meta tier list. Make sure you check it out. You're going to get a full meta tier list from Snap.fan along with the regular Snap Judgments crew and Vin Kelsier. All right, with that, let's look at Thanos. So we're going to look at 3 Thanos decks. Wesley Seek's deck, Streamer Johnson's deck, and SafetyBlade's deck. Each of these has either won a tournament, reached infinite, or both. With Red Skull going away, relatively soon with Shuri going away, we are a short time away from Thanos being the thing to do. The other thing to do would be Hitmonkey, but you'll see we have some answers for that in these decks. This is the Wesley Seek Thanos Death deck. This deck is incredible. It's running both of the Thors along with a little package for Death to work. If you're worried about just having Killmonger as your only death trigger, if you're worried about just Killmonger as your only death trigger, then please feel free to switch that with She-Hulk. Here's what the deck does. First off, it has the obvious Lockjaw Thanos thing going. You can throw stones into Lockjaw and get out big cards, get out combos. You have Wasp as a 0 cost to throw into Lockjaw. You have the stones, and you have, eventually, hopefully, Mjolnir. That's a lot of ways to get cards into Lockjaw and hopefully get some big things out. Some versions of this deck are running Magneto instead of Leech. I personally like Leech because Leech usually means free cubes because you have both Wave on 3 and a Time Stone on 3 from Thanos in order to get that early snap Leech, which we know is so powerful. That is one way to handle Hitmonkey. Hitmonkey with no text is an absolutely terrible card. Another way to handle that Hitmonkey is to save your wave until 5. They can't play enough cards for Hitmonkey to be relevant if you wave on 5. And then ideally, you've got Death along with one of the other cards that are big. Say Doom, if you've got a Doom Odin onto that. And you'll always have America or Thanos in addition to Death on that last turn to really take over the whole board. That's the gist of this deck. It's fairly straightforward. It fundamentally really wants to see Lockjaw. And then once it has Lockjaw, it wants to throw cards into him to set up an explosive last turn. This deck is extremely powerful. It's both hit infinite numerous times and won several tournaments. Wesley Seek made the Valhalla deck, which is my favorite deck in the history of this game. So I strongly urge you to try this out. It plays really, really smooth. It also does a absolutely phenomenal job of playing around Shang-Chi until the very last turn. One more thing. If you're worried about Thanos mirrors, this is the Thanos mirror breaker. Killmonger means that this generally beats other Thanos decks. That Killmonger also gives it an extra leg up against the double She-Hulk or a bunch of one style of Hitmonkey decks. Excellent, excellent deck. Really strong. Streamer Johnson has another version of the deck. This version is slightly worse against the meta at large, right? Slightly worse at the tournament scene at large, but still is absolutely dominant on ladder. You'll note that again we have a lockjaw build. In this case, we're trying to do the same basic strategy as before of throwing things into lockjaw to get out big cards. But lockjaw is not the key to this deck. The key to this deck is actually the Time Stone or Psylocke on 3 into ideally Professor X or Leech. Professor X is the key here. If you can do that, you have numerous tools in this deck to lock down another lane. You can turn off their stuff. You can claw an Onslaught or Iron Man an Onslaught. You can Iron Man onto a lane and then Valkyrie away whatever big thing they have, leaving the double power of the Iron Man to win you that lane. You can Valkyrie onto a Soulstone. All of these different ways to take a second lane once you Professor X'd a lane. If you Professor X on 4, which is, again, the real goal here, the best play on 5 possible is to Spider-Man off another lane, letting you decide what you need to do to close up the game. If you can do that into Lockjaw, you have the chance of pulling another of your big cards, which is extremely, extremely powerful. This deck does a phenomenal job of locking up space against those Hitmonkey decks that are everywhere. With both Spider-Man and Professor X, it's hard for the opponent to match all of that power. Claw as a 5/10 does a really good job of slowing things down. If you can throw priority, Valkyrie 2 is absolutely incredible in ensuring that their 12, 18 power Hitmonkey gets chopped right down to size. All of these combos are absolutely insane. Also, Iron Man on Onslaught alone is crazy, crazy power. That's 28 power from just those 2 cards on the last turn of the game. That's going to win most of your lanes, especially if your opponent doesn't see the Onslaught coming. This deck is insane. This is super duper fun and wins an absolute ton of games. The last deck we're going to take a look at today is the SafetyBlade Thanos. SafetyBlade is an excellent streamer and podcaster over at Marvel Snap Zone. I know we're Snap.fan affiliated, but nothing but love to the Snap Zone people. SafetyBlade's got this Thanos deck, which is built to be a combo of the Hitmonkey deck and the Thanos deck. It's got the same top end, more or less, as the deck that you would see either Wesley Seek's Valhalla deck or Streamer Johnson's deck. It has that combo available to it to lock down a lane, to just have a big thing to play in Devil Dino or Thanos, and can win that way. The other way that this deck plans to steal games is it's got a Negasonic Teenage Warhead for when you don't have priority on top of Valkyrie. But the other way to win games is you've got all of these low-cost cards, right? You've got this whole low-cost curve. The whole top row is a low-cost curve, along with Thanos' 6 Infinity Stones. That means on the last turn of the game, especially if you've beasted Hitmonkey earlier in the game, you can play an awful lot of cards, get that giant, powerful Hitmonkey turn, and win the game. Negasonic, to me, here is the single least important card. There's actually an argument for that to be Killmonger and then to change Devil Dino for Death. At that point, you probably want to slot Wave in, and then you can have your cake and eat it too. But Negasonic is a card that very few of you have. It is also here largely because it's super fun. It does a phenomenal job of locking down a lane. Like if you Spider-Man on 4, then Negasonic on 5, if they're playing a big guy deck, that lane is just 1, right? And then you have enough extra mana to play several other cards to get yourself set up for that to get yourself set up for that big Hitmonkey turn, the last turn of the game. Carnage, make sure that you have enough space. It is also an answer to all the junk decks everywhere. Bishop gains power for all the cards you play, as always. And Bast actively harms Negasonic for a whole 1 point, and Thanos is the one card that actually suffers here from Bast. But if you've played the other version of this deck, the Valhalla version, you'll realize just how rarely you play Thanos. Your power will come from when you need a Devil Dinosaur, Bishop, and a Hit Monkey, not elsewhere. This deck is absolutely super cool. Props to SafetyBlade for coming up with another version of Thanos that hit infinite. All right, those are our 3 Thanos decks. Gameplay for each will be coming later this week, either in shorts or on TikTok. You can check our description below to find the link to the TikTok if you're interested. Please make sure you choose a favorite Thanos deck and subscribe so that you will be entered into the contest to win a All Avengers pack. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow for another Snap Take.